Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Monday evening to you all. Hope everyone is doing well out there tonight and certainly had yourselves a fantastic Monday and a great start to your week. Man, we have had some drastic changes today regarding the winter storm impacts for the Northeast. This has been some of the most dramatic changes that I've seen in a very small window of time since really following weather. And I think a lot of folks in the Northeast, New England region could agree to that statement. So we're going to talk about what those changes mean. We were seeing some south trends overnight last night, even kind of yesterday afternoon. But, typically when we see that, a lot of times we see things shift back north. But just seeing what the real-time observations are right now with this storm, which you see on your screen, I think that these south trends are real, and I think this is ultimately what's going to end up happening. So we'll talk about all this in the video. We're going to break it down. I even thought about not doing a video tonight, but I thought it was very important to jump on here and give you guys some updated information so there's not any disappointed people, that's for sure. So we're going to break it down for you folks, talk about the evolution of this storm, talk about the potential snow totals that the experts are thinking with this. And that's pretty much all we're going to show. We're not going to really compare all this other model guidance. We're going to, compare some model guidance, but not really compare what they're really showing as far as snow totals. We're just going to stick it to the experts, stick with the experts here, and ride this out. But this will be the last really big video on this. By the time we wake up tomorrow morning, this will be ongoing and raging on. So this has been a tough one. Give your local meteorologists, folks, women, men, just give them a break with this. I'm telling you, this has been one of the more difficult storms that I've ever seen. It really has. So give everybody a break. If you're annoyed by this, I don't blame you. But at the same time, this ain't easy, folks. It really isn't. So let's get rocking and rolling. So if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below. So this is what's going on right now. We're only going to talk about this storm. We're not going to talk about next weekend. We're not going to talk about anything but this storm. So this is the heavy precipitation associated with this short wave right here. It's raining pretty good in Kentucky. It's a cold rain. We're trying to mix here along the Mississippi River Valley region here, kind of in western Tennessee and extreme northeastern sections of Arkansas. We are having some reports of some snow falling in northeast Arkansas right now. But this is what we're watching for later on this evening to abruptly switch from heavy rain to some heavy snow in Kentucky. If it does it, maybe a quick couple inches of slushy snow could accumulate. But this is what's ultimately heading up into the Northeast. This is not going to be a long duration storm coming up at all. It's going to last no more than 6 to 12 hours for most people. 12 hours, I think, is pushing it, to be honest. So everybody else is getting rain. It's 95% of everybody's just getting rain with this. Watches, warnings, and advisories. We're going to zoom into this. Winter weather advisories are up for these purple counties, and they're even up for the higher elevations of like Tennessee. There is high wind warnings, and I'm not going to speak on the winds, but definitely a windstorm in the higher elevations of the Southern Alps region tonight. Winds could gust as high as 85 miles per hour. They're talking about in some of these higher mountaintops. So definitely be careful if you live in the high country of the Southern Alps. But the winter weather advisories are up. There's no winter weather advisory up for Nashville, but all these other counties in purple. This doesn't include like Lexington, doesn't include Cincinnati or Louisville or anything like that. But if you recognize your county outline, you're under a winter weather advisory if it's in purple. So no winter weather advisories really up between this area of Kentucky and West Virginia. Just not expecting enough to really drop a winter weather advisory with this. And then, of course, with the Northeast, you now have winter storm warnings up in New York City, all of Long Island, where we're forecast as much as a foot of snow now. And we're still hanging on to winter storm warnings in Boston. But if you notice, these areas in central and western Mass had winter storm warnings this morning, and you've been downgraded to winter weather advisories. That's how much we've shifted south today. And you've cut off even Binghamton. I mean, Binghamton don't even have a winter weather advisory anymore. We're starting to get winter weather advisories creeping further south, but I think this is as far south as they'll go. A lot of people are thinking, if this keeps trending south, this is going to get some snow down here into the Delmarva region, central Virginia. That's not how this works, guys. We don't have a lot of cold air to work with. So honestly, the further south this trends, the more of a non-event winter weather-wise this is going to be. Because it's not like the cold air is coming down with it. The cold air, there's not a very good cold air source with this. This is really relying on precipitation rates. I'll show you that here in a second. So let's go on and talk about this region first. This is kind of happening right now. If we actually look at what's happening right now, we look at the radar. These are actual reports. So here in the far northeast corner of Arkansas, we're getting reports of rain and snow mix, and then we have a report I think this is an old report of snow back here just southwest of Jonesboro. So we might switch to snow here in the next hour or so in these areas if we can get some heavier precipitation. But what we will watch for, and it's already raining up here in Kentucky, we're just not in the radar view of this, is I don't know if it's going to let me draw. I guess it's not. But all this heavier precipitation, when a little bit of cold air wrapping in, as we could switch some of these rain icons to snow icons here in Kentucky later on tonight. So we'll start this off around 8 a.m. Central Time, 9 a.m. Eastern Time. And as we keep moving here in time here, you see these yellows and oranges and reds. That's heavy rain. As we start to get deeper into the evening, 11 p.m., midnight, 12, 1 a.m., this is when some cold air can be in place just enough. We get heavier precipitation. We do what we call crashing the column, dynamic cooling. It's when we can get heavier enough precipitation rates to actually cool down all levels of the atmosphere, even to the surface. And that is when we'll have an opportunity for some heavy, wet snow. Even all the way down to Nashville. It's very possible through the heart of Kentucky. And even though this doesn't look very impactful, that large of a snow band, it's showing some snow all the way to the southern Cumberland Plateau just after midnight tonight from the latest HRRR model. And, I know this doesn't look very impressive, but if this is the way it unfolds and you do get a switch to heavy snow in this case, and it would be heavy snow, it could overcome any warmness that has been lately. Meaning, I know it's been warm in all these areas of the country over the last few days. It's not going to matter. If it snows heavy enough, it'll cool down the surface and it will accumulate. So if you get 1 hour of heavy snow, you could get a quick inch or two of snow somewhere in Kentucky, even like the areas like the plateau regions of Tennessee. And then you'll start to snow a little bit in the Smokies. Could get a couple inches of snow, and this kind of continues. Could get some snow in eastern Kentucky after midnight tonight, even to the western sections of Virginia. And this does show, even though you don't have winter weather advisories up in West Virginia, it does show in the wee hours of the morning, you guys switch into a 1 to 2 hour period of some heavy snow. And even like the North Carolina side of the mountains, guys. I mean, you guys could get a little bit of snow just before sunrise tomorrow morning, and then this heads on off very, very quickly with very windy conditions. Snowfall forecast from this, guys, I mean, they're trying to call for a quick 1.5 inches here in the next hour or two in this area of Tennessee and Kentucky. Let's see if we have some new information. The reason I didn't have the latest one up is because they're not connecting anymore. But they're not calling for much in Tennessee. Could get a dusting, could get a quick inch in the Cumberland Plateau. Nothing's going to surprise me with this at all. But up here in Kentucky, in the heart of Kentucky right here, in like Lexington, Point South, all the small towns and communities right here in central Kentucky, maybe a slushy 1 to 2 inches of snow is possible. And I mean, you could get that in these areas too that's not really projecting any kind of snow. If you look at the HRRR model as far as snowfall forecast from this, man, this thing's moving slow. Well, I guess you're not going to show it to me. That's cool. That's cool if you don't want to cooperate. But let's just look at the blend of all models. It takes more of the conservative route. I was going to try to show you the HRRR model with this, but here it is. Yeah, it's going to show it now. But let's see. Look at this. Here it is. Finally, it took a minute. But this is what the HRRR model is showing, but it's well overdone. It always is. It's way overdone when it comes to this banding kind of setup. But I wouldn't be surprised if someone in Kentucky, maybe the higher plateau region of Tennessee right here, sneaks in an inch, maybe 1.5 inches of wet snow. Wouldn't be surprised one bit. We take a look at these individual graphics. Paducah, maybe a trace here in the next hour or so. Hopkinsville, 0 to 2 inches of snow. So, it's not much, guys. You get down to Nashville, an inch or less. Who knows? Maybe you get lucky in these areas. The further north you get in Nashville, the higher your chance. Clarksville, Lafayette could sneak in 0.5 inch or so or less. Up here in Kentucky, Lexington, Kentucky, 0 to 2 inches of snow expected. You could get nothing, could get 2 inches of snow. I was at Campbellsville, 0 to 2 inches of snow. Richmond, 0 to 3. A wide variety, right? So it just goes to show you how big of a question all this is. And then you get to the National Weather Service out of Jackson. This is Eastern Kentucky, Moorhead, 1 to 2 inches of snow forecast. Mount Sterling, 2 inches of snow along that Interstate 64 corridor. Could get some snow right into here. So, and then you look at the National Weather Service here in Ohio. They've really dropped it. Remember, this morning and last night they were calling for maybe a couple inches of snow in this area. Not anymore. And then we look at the National Weather Service in Charleston. 3 inches of snow is forecasted for Snowshoe. They're not forecasting anything in these lower elevations of West Virginia, though. So that's the last update for you folks with this. Good luck if you're a snow fan. HRRR model for the Northeast. This is when it gets wonky, right? We're going to start this off around midnight tonight. Rain's entering the picture. It's already beginning to enter the picture this evening in the Mid-Atlantic. Just a chilly rain. This keeps on going, and we get all the way to about 4 a.m. This is when some of that rain switches abruptly to very heavy snow in central PA, southern PA, especially the higher elevated regions of Pennsylvania. Still raining for the most part in the Delmarva and the Mid-Atlantic, but certainly western Maryland, those higher elevations will quickly switch to snow, if not start off as snow. And then if you look right here in New York City, Long Island. Remember the models this morning were saying you could start out as rain. You probably still could. But it says by the time you wake up tomorrow morning, the sun's rising, you are snowing like crazy in New York City, northern New Jersey, southern New York State. I mean, it is just unloading snow on you folks. It doesn't even look like you're having a huge issue with mixing except like right at the beginning of the storm. But quickly, I mean, you get all the way to about 7 a.m. It's just now showing it's snowing like crazy in Long Island. Southern Connecticut, central Connecticut into Rhode Island, it's snowing like crazy. What's wild is if you compare this with what the 12Z HRRR model was showing, this has shifted significantly further south. If you're wondering what this pink is, that's more of a mix of rain and snow. I mean, but what's wild to me is, though, as we start to get into about 9 a.m., right in the middle of this snowstorm in New York City, you still aren't snowing in Boston yet. It's snowing like crazy down here in Providence, Rhode Island, Southeast Mass. It is going to be, wherever it is snowing, most likely, guys, it's going to be snowing very, very hard. But what's crazy to me is the HRRR model, check it out. You switch to a 1 to 2 hour period down here in Baltimore and Washington, D.C. of snow all the way down to northern VA. So if this happens, you guys could get a couple inches of wet snow down here. That's why there's now the forecast I'm going to show you here for Baltimore is now for like 1 to 2 inches of snow. By the time you get to about midday, folks, this will abruptly end in New York City. And you might be left with, who knows, 4 to 6 inches of snow. Boston, it could start around mid-morning, last for a few hours, and then by the time you're into tomorrow afternoon, it's over. So how far north does it get? It doesn't even really want to get into Maine anymore. This is turning into what looks like a quick-hitting, pretty significant winter storm for like Cape Cod, Southeast Mass, Martha's Vineyard, Nantucket, Long Island. Those might be the jackpot areas as of right now. You take a look at the NAM, it's not much different, guys. Snowing in New York City by the time daybreak happens, and look at this. It's snowing down here in the Delmarva region, snowing in northern Delaware, snowing in all of New Jersey, snowing in Long Island. It gets that snow band all the way to Boston, but it doesn't get much further north than Boston. And then, you get a few to several hour period of very heavy snow in southern New England, and then this heads on off, and then we get some lake effect energy. And, you take a look at the trends, guys, with what's happened here. Let's take a look at the GFS. What did it look like? Man, it keeps doing this to me. What did it look like a few days ago? Right? Okay. This is what it looked like a few days ago. Right? So this was like back on let's take it all the way to the evening of the 9th of February. This is what it was looking like. It was 96 hours ago, right? This is the current run now. Watch how all this snow shifts to the southeast. Watch this. See how it all shifts gradually to the point now where you got to almost get tucked into the coastal regions of southern New England to get any appreciable snow. So this is some big trends, guys. It really is. But one thing I'm telling you, if you're under the heaviest snow, this is an hourly snowfall forecast from the HRRR model. This is basically where it's trying to show how someone can get 1 to 2, 3 inch per hour rates wherever this band sets up. And here it is. This is around 7 a.m. tomorrow. It's saying that, and this is a little overdone, But I do like the idea of 1 to 2 inch per hour rates falling in wherever the heaviest band shows. This is 1 hour snowfall totals. 1 hour. And look, you get this 2 inch per hour snowfall rates going into New York City tomorrow morning, and Long Island, New Jersey, southeast PA, even into sections. I mean, you can even get this band that moves into Baltimore and DC, inch per hour rates. It's going to happen in southern New England too. Look at these rates moving into southern New England, extreme southern New England, like closer to Connecticut, Rhode Island, and also southeast Mass. 1 to 2 inch per hour snowfall rates flying around here. So it's going to be intense, guys. And, you look at the blend of all models with this, and, I would show you that. Let's see if they've fixed this yet. No, yeah, they have. That's good. So they've kind of fixed it. It's still kind of weird right in here. But this is the National Weather Service forecast. And you can tell, everything shifted south. It's a broad look. But let's just go on and take a look what everybody really wants to see. Let's take a look at these individual graphics. All right. National Weather Service out of Pittsburgh. I mean, they've actually increased it to 1 to 2 inches. We'll see if that actually happens. Indiana, PA, 3 to 4. Uniontown, 3 inches of snow. Morgantown, you're now up to 2 to 3 inches of snow forecast. We'll see if this happens. And then we look at, the heart of Pennsylvania, 6 inches of snow in State College. 6 inches of snow in Lewistown, 6 to 8 in State College. Clearfield, 4 to 6. Lock Haven, 6 to 8 inches. They've increased it to 6 to 8 in Harrisburg. Big increase for you folks. York, 2 to 3. Bedford, 6 to 8. So this is going to fall in a very short amount of time. Only like maybe 4 to 6 hours. This is all going to fall. National Weather Service out of Baltimore and Washington. I mean, you're increasing the snowfall in this area of West Virginia and Virginia now. 5 to 8 in Oakland, Cumberland 2 to 3, Hagerstown now up to 2 to 3, Leesburg 1 to 2, Baltimore 1 to 2, Bel Air 1 to 2 inches of snow, Westminster 3 to 4, Washington now an inch or less. You weren't showing anything. Binghamton, man, this is an area where you've just completely evaporated your snow. I think at one point you were at 3 to 4, you bumped up to 8 to 12. Now you're all the way to 1 to 2 with not even a winter weather advisory. Substantial changes in this area. You guys are just on that northern fringe of snow. And then you go down to Scranton, 6 to 8, and there's still this corridor of, they're still forecasting 12 to 18 inches of snow right in here. So, someone could, what's wild is, and this was updated at about 4 p.m., so a few hours ago. If, I think someone told me it's pronounced Sussex. If you guys get 12 to 18 inches of snow in that area of extreme northern New Jersey, you're gonna get it in a 6 to 7 hour period. And to get a foot and a half of snow in 6 to 7 hours, that's pretty extreme. Mount Pocono, 12 inches of snow. Allentown, 6 to 8. Reading up to 4 to 6 now. Philadelphia, 1 to 2 inches of snow. All right. Somerville, 4 to 6. So, and then New York City. So they're still going for 4 to 6 in New York City. Honestly, it could be 4 to 6. It could be 6 to 8. But what's wild is look at Long Island. I mean, widespread 8 to 12 inch snowfall totals are expected. Newark, 6 to 8. I mean, there's no real big difference here. I mean, it's all kind of the same. In general, 4 to 8 inches of snow is possible. West Milford, 8 to 12. Bridgeport, Connecticut, 8 to 12. I think southern Connecticut's good for 8 to 12 inches of snow. And I'm telling you, it's going to fall in a very short amount of time. It's not like this is going to be kind of drawn out to an 18 to 24 hour storm. This is going to fall in like 6 to 8 hours. So you're going to get some 1 to 2 inch per hour rates with this. You head up to Albany. This is the same as Binghamton. Okay, you got a very big time sharp cutoff with this. Albany now an inch or less of snow forecast. It's dramatic cutoffs in this region. Boston. Now this is an area that there's going to be a lot of upset people in. You've now decreased it to 6 to 8 in Boston, but I even think that's pushing it. Plymouth 8 to 12. Provincetown 8 to 12. I mean, it's increased out on the Cape and southeast Mass. You've increased south to Boston. You now have this stripe of 8 to 12 inches of snow through Rhode Island, through southern Connecticut, but it drops off pretty quick. So now these areas that were forecasting as much as 12 to 18 inches of snow have dropped to like 4 to 6, 6 to 8 up here in central Mass. So, I think Worcester was calling for 8 to 12 at one point, now just calling for 6 inches of snow. So, things have changed fast, and I don't even have anything up for, you folks up here in New Hampshire. I'm sorry I did kind of leave you hanging, but you guys' snowfall forecast has substantially dropped off. So I'm not sorry to kind of leave you hanging there. So that's all I got for that. That'll be the last big update. All I can say is reel it in, guys. We'll see what happens. This is a fascinating storm, and there's going to be a lot of disappointed people if you're winter weather fans. Let's give you one last update on Atlantic Canada, up here in Nova Scotia and New Brunswick and Newfoundland. So just like the trends we've seen in the Northeast, the Euro and the GFS are kind of agreeing with one another, and it's looking like you got to be tucked into the southern coastline of Nova Scotia. And I think you could get, several centimeters of snow with this. I know y'all go by centimeters. Someone equivalent to inches, maybe someone can get, 6 to 8 inches of snow. This kind of comes up, gets to Newfoundland, and the southeast sections of Newfoundland is going to probably get some snow moving into to our Wednesday, lasting all the way into our Wednesday night into our Thursday morning, and then you could get some more snow kind of thrown back into the region. So, those scary models from a few days ago from the Euro showing you guys just getting like several feet of snow again, we've backed off from that. GFS, kind of the same thing. Agrees the axis of heaviest snow is going to stay off the shoreline. But it does look like if you live in this area of Nova Scotia, right up against the coastline, including southwest Nova Scotia, you guys are going to get hit pretty good. Cape Breton Island, I think that, was it Prince Edward Island, New Brunswick? I think you're going to escape the storm pretty much altogether. Maybe a little bit of snow, but not much to really even talk about. Cape Breton Island. So this timeline of this, I know I keep going everywhere. Tuesday afternoon, this moves in. And then by the time, you get into Wednesday morning for the most part, this storm's done for Nova Scotia. It starts to hit Newfoundland Wednesday, lasts through until our Thursday morning. And so how much snow forecast from the Euro? This is in centimeters. So you got to be tucked in way up against the coastline to get the most. It's going to be snowing like crazy right out in the ocean. But, in general, totals have really dropped off. I think at most someone could get 15 to 20 centimeters of snow, depending on where you are in Nova Scotia, Cape Breton Island. I think that's the max, but that could change. You could see how much it can change. The heavy snow's just off the coastline. And I think you got to get into southeast Newfoundland to really get a chance to see a foot and a half of snow. So you could still get, 30, 40 centimeters of snow in this kind of setup. Now you look at the GFS, and this is all the way, guys, through Friday morning too. Also snowfall between now and Friday morning. And it's about the same. It's a little bit more on the GFS for areas of Nova Scotia. But, man, it really does hit you folks out in southeast Newfoundland really hard with a couple feet of snow. So you guys could still get hit hard by this. That's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all, and have a great night.